It's funny how in the Americas, the melanated indigenous groups repeatedly get the same recycled "you came from Africa" narrative. I was actually myself on YouTube looking at some different videos of people that travel about throughout all the Americas. And the same narrative is being pushed that they also came from Africa. The Black Americans, the Afro Mexicans, the Central Americans, the Caribbeans, the melanated indigenous tribes, the Black Seminoles, the Afro Latino indigenous groups. All of us get told that you came from Africa, even when our phenotypes doesn't necessarily match the West African groups that they white civilizations have tried to cling us to. So I just noticed these patterns because it's real and it is specific to the Americas only. And it just made me wonder when you start to looking at the ancient Egyptians, the Olmecs, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the indigenous Americans, the mound builders, all these so-called separate civilizations. Why do all these people do the exact same things? Build the same structures, wear the same clothes, tell the same stories, have the same cosmology. I'm talking about the pyramids, feathers, serpent symbolism, dragon symbolism, solar worship. These people weren't random, isolated groups like they want to tell us they are. They weren't strangers. They weren't unrelated civilizations like Western academics try to force us to believe. I truly believe all these so called civilizations were the same people, maybe in different time periods, maybe with different names, maybe spread across different lands, but the same soul lineage, the same people. Think about it. All these civilizations mirror each other. Let's really look into the serpent symbolism because this part right here, this is what sealed it for me because throughout all their creation stories, throughout all their stories, they're literally all telling the same story with just different dragon names, serpent names, deity names, but it's all the same story. You can't tell me this is a coincidence. Let's start with Mesoamerica. The Aztecs had the mosaic serpent, the feathered serpent, the early plume serpent from the Olmecs. It's the exact same style. A serpent body with feathers, with sacred geometry, with the same spiritual meaning across every version of it. Then let's go over to ancient Kemet, aka Egypt. They had Wajit, the Uraeus serpent, the protective cobra on the crowns of the pharaohs. The serpent rising from the forehead, the double headed serpents, the winged serpents, the solar serpents is literally the same icons expressed in their own cultural style. Feathers are cold. Look at the garments and the crowns. This part is wild to me because the same feathers, the same fan crowns, the same headdresses, the same serpent headpieces. When you start lining these civilizations up side by side, not the textbook version, but the actual art, something becomes really clear. These people weren't as different as we were taught. Look at the garments, the fabrics, the feathers, the beads with the Egyptians, the spiritual symbols. Then when you look at the Mayan, when you go into Mesoamerica and see the same visual things, the same brown skin, the same elaborate headdresses, the same beaded jewelry, patterned fabrics, even when they painted the body, it's the same aesthetics. Then when we look at the Aztec, the feathers, the animal headdresses, the tied clothing at the waist, it's the same world, just a different region. And then when we look into the indigenous North American, the American Indian, same feathers, same garments, same wardrobe. These aren't the visuals of disconnected, unrelated people. This looks like one big cultural family expressed through different cities, different regions, different time periods, or simultaneously at the same time. The real point is the separation came later after colonization, after renaming, after rewriting of our history, as they've always done. Because the moment you realize these civilizations all look like variations of the same people, you also have to question why the story of Black Americans starts at slavery instead of civilization. Even the US emblem that you actually have to go make an appointment to see in a British museum, the eagle with the feathers matches the same feather tradition that Mesoamerican, Egypt, and the Mississippians use. Because feathers symbolize divine authority, ascension, and connection to the higher realms. These civilizations weren't copying each other. This was ancestral expression, a memory carried through different tribes, but the same people. And the serpents, again, look deeper. The Olmecs had two-headed serpent imagery. The Mayans had two-headed serpent imagery. The Egyptians had two-headed serpents, symbolizing duality, balance, and cosmic guardianship. You don't get this level of symbolic overlap unless these civilizations come from the same spiritual conscious. We recognize ourselves through the way we dress, through the serpents we honored, through the crowns we wore, through the feathers, the symbols, the cosmology. This was our ancient identification system. Tribes, nations, through symbol, garments, spiritual technology. And when you line up all the imagery as I had with Mesoamerica, the Olmecs, Egyptian, the American Indians, or the Aboriginals of America, the melanated people, it's the same people expressing the same divine codes across the world. Then you look at them physically with the broad noses, the full lips, the high cheekbones, the melanin rich skins, the braids, the cornrows, the locks, the jewelry, the gold arm cuffs, the feather crowns. That looks real black. When you also think about it, even with us today as Black Americans, you got people from Florida that talk different. They may dress different than a person from Memphis. However, same people, same melanated Black Americans. You got people from New York that talk completely different, dress completely different from somebody that's from Missouri. We got different lingos across the American diaspora, but we still the same people. It's the same thing with these ancient civilizations that they try to make you think are so different from one another and all these different people, when really, when you look closely, they're the same people. We are them and they are us. So this is why I say I personally believe, and this is me speaking, I believe the only reason they try to separate these civilizations is to confuse you. The devil loves confusion. Because if you ever put the pieces together and say, hold up, all these ancient melanated civilizations with the same symbolism, same architecture, same spiritual practices, the same gods under different names, the same physical features, the same everything, these are my ancestors. There is no difference. Even the names may be Europeans. Maybe they weren't even called Egyptians and Olmecs and Aztecs, etc. They may be a European classification, as they classified us so many different times. If you ever figured that out, the whole game changes. Because now, instead of arguing whether you're Egyptian or Olmec or Hebrew or Israelite or whatever, indigenous or Mayan or whatever, you realize you're all of them. They were the same soul family, the same consciousness, returning across ages, same people, new names, new lands, same lineage. And the colonizers know that. They knew if you ever put these pieces together, you stop fighting over which ancient group you belong to and realize they all belong to you. Because here's the thing, when cultures are truly different, they do not express identical cosmology. They don't build the same exact sacred structures using the same sacred geometry. They don't independently worship the sun in the same way. They don't independently say that life started with the primordial waters of serpents or feather beings in the same exact way. They don't manifest the same aesthetics. That's ancestral memory repeating itself across eras. And this is why they hate you so much, Black people. Not necessarily because you're a melanated person, but because you always come back. You're still here. You're not going anywhere. You haven't gone anywhere. Still here. We always come back. Spirit doesn't die, it cycles. A soul lineage doesn't end, it returns. A civilization does not disappear, it reincarnates into new forms. And when you see the cultural patterns repeating itself today, the jewelry, the hair, the rhythm, the dance, the spirituality, the creativity, the connection to the ancestor, that's a sign that we are the continuation, and they know that. We are the returning bloodline. We are the living descendants of all these ancient civilizations that they're still trying to separate. They were all the same people. They divided the name so they could divide the lineage because confusion is the easiest ways to erase identity. Always been the same people, same soul, same memory, same blueprint. The ancestors didn't disappear, they became us.